We can make
We
it.
can do it. Because we're
Internet
live.
problems be damned. Yeah. Oh, what? Oh, shoot. I'm always so
You're fine, you're fine.
surprised.
Yeah, welcome everybody to the Unready room. Unready as always, because that's our brand. That's what we love to do around here. Thank you all so much for joining us. I see there's already a very active chat happening. I've just come from work and then wolfed down some dinner and got down here and connected. So I haven't had time to look through everyone's chats, but thank you all so much for joining us. And thank you, of course, to Brandi Jackola. How's it going?
It's been a weird week. But I'm glad to be here. I missed, I missed not doing this last week, but I was glad that you were away and having fun and doing nerdy things. So.
Oh, I didn't. Again, I'm unready, so I don't know if I have them here. But I did. Oh shoot! I wonder where I put them. Yeah, I got a couple of 8x10 signatures as I'm wont to do at these events. Oh, there they are. Okay, my room is a complete mess. So, I did first of all get Katie Sackhoff. It was a toss up between Bo-Katan and Starbuck.
That's a hard choice.
I know. I still almost have buyer's remorse, but I mean, that's such a great picture. I love it.
It is.
And then I really wanted, as I've said, Silver Fox Q, but there were no like Picard season 2 publicity photos. But he did have a headshot, like a current headshot, that I'm like, that's pretty close.
That's pretty so close. Good. So good.
So those are in the collection now.
Lucky you.
Yeah, so welcome everyone. DJ Kitty Cat. We are both on Mountain Time, actually, both me and Brandi, by a fluke of geography. We line up continent wise.
We do.
So yeah, both on Mountain Time. So fellow Mountain Time people, represent. Come on, shout out in the comments if you're on Mountain Time. There's too few of
us. Nobody ever talks about us. It's always Pacific, Central, Eastern. Kiss my butt. We're here.
Right over there.
Yeah. We exist.
Exactly. Oh, awesome. Okay, yeah, numerous people posting about Calgary. I may be able to make Grand Con in July. So the city I live in, Grand Prairie, and the city that Matthew lives in there, we have our first in a long time anyway, comic convention they're putting together here. And yeah, we actually just this week I can announce that Nikki, my wife, has applied to get a table there at Artists Alley, and so she's going to be showcasing some of her artwork and stuff. Which if some of you have seen I shared on Twitter way back when, one of the paintings she did of Michael Burnham. She's an incredible artist. She's got some nerdy stuff and some other stuff there as well. So yeah, Matthew, you're going to see you at Grand Con. I know there's probably no one else who's ever going to watch this video who's from Grand Prairie, or in the comments who's from Grand Prairie. Maybe a couple, but who are usually lurking and silent. But other than that, I don't know. But yeah, Grand Con. I think Lou Ferrigno is coming. I don't know about anyone else. We'll see. So yeah. Yeah, that's what's going on around here.
Sweet.
Indeed. Oh, cool. Your cosplay page may be featured. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so Wellington acknowledges us Mountain Time peeps. So thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm gonna get emotional. Just I feel seen, and
oh, there we go. We got TJ, Mountain Type represent, Colorado for the win.
Yeah, you're right next door, man. I'm in Utah.
Oh, and David, Denver, awesome. I'm gonna
also try and right next door.
Yeah, awesome. TJ's in Colorado Springs, apparently. So that's awesome. Very cool.
Oh, that's even closer.
There you go. Yeah. Mountain Time. It's good to hear, you feel seen, right? Representation matters. Absolutely.
It does, especially when people skip over us all the time. All the time.
Absolutely. Veronica Taylor from Pokemon will also be at Grand Con. So if you're in the Grand Prairie area, come see that. So anyway, yeah, so we're not here to talk exclusively about that though, but instead a couple episodes of Star Trek Picard because of course we weren't here last week, so we're a little bit behind. That's at least 2 weeks in a row we're going to be doing double headers because of course next week we've got a finale and a premiere to talk about, and I'm so excited about that. But before we get there, we have to talk Mercy and hide and seek. So let's discuss that. So first of all, again, I'm behind, so I usually have my notes up, which I don't yet. So let me do that. That's probably going to mess up my internet while I pull those up, but that's okay. I'm going to just talk and eat up time.
He's doing what we call in the biz vamping. He's
Mm-hmm.
vamping right now so that you don't notice that he's doing something else while he's just talking. So he's keeping people
Exactly.
entertained. That's how what they call vamping is when
This
you
is all
don't
in quotes, by the way.
yeah, when you don't have anything, planned and you have to stretch it out while prepare something else I'll
Yeah.
just stop. Yeah.
No, you're doing great. Um, yeah, I'm loving Stargate Command. Can we please get some news about a new Stargate series already? Come on. Anyway, that's
It's
my
okay. It's
I
okay.
can't
That's your
decide
next
what.
thing because
Yeah.
for the longest time it was like, "Are we gonna get a Pike show?" And then
Mm-hmm.
they had mercy on us, and on May 15th of 2020, when, everything was just so grim, they made that announcement. I lost my stuff, you guys. I almost said a
Mm-hmm.
bad word. It
Oh,
has been a long time coming.
who here has watched the opening credit sequence, by the way, for Strange New Worlds?
I've
I know
seen it
you
5
have.
times.
I know you have.
Sorry.
Um, but
Sorry,
that
not
is so
sorry.
cool. The opening monologue is back, the first time since 1994 in a television show, other than
Mhm.
like as part of the opening credits. Because yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
very excited, very excited about that. But again, let's hold on for a week. We can hold on for a week. Yeah, let's talk Mercy. So cast your minds back a couple weeks now, because we're talking about that episode first. In that episode, I'm trying to cast my mind back there because I've got all the hide and seek stuff coming in. But main things in that one, of course, are let's see, let's start with the FBI agent Wells story, because that was a big part of the episode. And the week before I'd made kind of a huge like, oh, they better make it about that guy he played in Voyager from the Relativity from the 29th century. And they didn't, but that's okay. That's okay. That storyline I still enjoyed. The only thing was, of course, I'm watching the episode and I keep waiting for the reveal and I keep waiting for it. And the moment when Q said to Guinan, humans are all stuck in the past, I was like, oh, here we go, here we go. And oh, no, okay, never mind. I took that way too literally than what they were intending. So, Brandi, you haven't seen the episode Relativity yet from Voyager, have you?
I've seen screenshots of it, but that's
Okay.
it.
All right. So, yeah, maybe not quite the context there, I guess, for this character, but still,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but when you were saying that they were going to tie it into that, I'm just in my mind, I'm just going, "Oh, Dan, I'm so sorry, but no, you're going to be disappointed, buddy, and I can't tell you that."
It's okay. It was probably a distraction more than anything. And
Mm,
the thing I kind of had to remember when all was said and done was that they wrote the episode and they wrote the character, and then at some point later on in the process, the guy got cast, right? So, it's not the fault of the writers. It's not that's just who ended up getting cast in this. And to be fair, he's a great actor and did a great job in the role. So, um, I can't really fault them for that, other than maybe the casting director for, playing a trick on us fans, I guess. But
Yeah, I think
yeah,
they were having a laugh at everyone's expense. It's like,
a little
"Oh,
bit.
let's throw up a red herring because there aren't enough of those in this season. Let's have
Yeah.
one."
Yeah, I'm seeing some people commenting missed opportunities. Uh oh, bait and switch, like the bait and switch with Evan Peters on WandaVision. I never thought of that, but yeah, there's a bit of that. Um yeah, I don't know. I was when all was said and done, when I finished the episode, I enjoyed that part of the story. The one frustration I had with the story, other than obviously the whole Jay Carnes thing, was it felt like another digression from the main story that got wrapped up really quickly. And it's like, okay, that's done with. Let's move on. And again, it's kind of pulling at me in different directions, because I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the performances in it, but I just, it doesn't seem to tie into anything, unless, I don't know, Jay Carnes' disgraced FBI agent shows up in the next episode, but I doubt that. Uh,
I
I
can
mean, he
neither
might.
confirm nor deny
I don't
anything
know.
because I have seen the final episode,
Fair enough. Fair
but I
enough. But
cannot confirm or deny anything. Um, so sorry. Um,
well, I do love how, as the story went on, I kind of kept thinking like, well, they could still tie it in this way. They could still tie it in this way. And then we see a flashback to him as a kid in the 70s, and I'm like, okay, there's no way. Like, it just, now it doesn't
yeah.
make any sense. So
Well, honestly, that this whole story doesn't make any sense to me because
mhm.
the whole thing at the end where he realizes, "Oh, I'm the guy who's here to let you go." You're there because of this guy! You wouldn't be there if not for this guy! So he's just there to take you in and let you go! That means nothing!
Yeah. And I mean, there's that. Honestly, the problem I had with it as well was how fast it was wrapped up. Like, I
Mhm.
don't, if I like, put yourself in this guy's position as well. He's like, there's this alien and he reached out to touch my head, and I felt like he was going to melt my brain or something, and like he was going to like suck my brains out or whatever. And Picard was like, oh no, they were Vulcans, they were doing a mind meld, they were just trying to erase the memories of their appearance without your consent. Oh, okay, cool. What?
Also, this is not a Vulcan mind meld. This is a Vulcan mind meld. Picard, come on. You know Spock and Sarek. What the hell was this?
He just, his fingers were a little sore. It's fine. Yeah, that didn't bother me so much, but it was just the whole like, oh, okay, someone from the future has explained this to me, and now I'm okay with it. And
Just no. No.
really,
That's just
now
I'm so
I do
sorry.
understand also his power was kind of yanked out from under him because he was then fired. But I don't know. It felt like he was like, oh, okay, it's fine now. A little too quick. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems pointless to me. What did this add to the overall story?
Mm,
Nothing. Nothing.
no. The one thing I'll give them points for is rewatching Carbon Creek. There's a line that Tamir says to Mistral. So obviously these Vulcans were not those same Vulcans, like some say, not the same
No,
Vulcans.
no, of course
They're
not.
not they're not Mistral or anybody to do with them. But there is a
Nope.
line that Tamir says to Mistral that says, perhaps we can get you assigned to the next survey crew that comes in about 20 years. That episode took place in the 50s. The flashbacks take place in the 70s. So
Yeah.
coincidence maybe, but I think
I don't think
nicely
so.
done. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that was
yeah, I didn't have a problem with that part of it.
yeah.
So
I was like, oh, nice touch. I like that.
yeah, Dave was trying to figure out, okay, so is this the same guy that was left behind in Carbon Creek? And I'm like, no, because number one, he was trying to blend in. These were, full Vulcan, Vulcan robes, everything. Number two, there was two of them. Number three, they got beamed away. So just it's
Yeah.
definitely never had any thought at all that that was anyone from that party from the 50s.
Yeah, absolutely. Interestingly, though, Mistral is out there. Uh,
He
not
is.
not going to figure into this season, I'm assuming, because they have one episode left. But he's out there right now. So on the list of extraterrestrial influences on Earth at this time. I mean, unless he met with an unfortunate end at some point that we don't know about. But
Oh, I don't want to think that way about him.
no, I hope not either. I'm just
Because,
saying it's Schrodinger's
yeah,
Vulcan right now.
that's true. That's true. That's true. Open the box. Is he alive or dead?
Yeah.
Not that we put him in a box. That's the whole thing with Schrodinger's cat. Look it
Yeah.
up online. You can learn about Schrodinger's cat. It's fine.
Yeah. So, DJ Kitty Cat has been mentioning that the Vulcans shouldn't have transporters at this time. So that's interesting. There's a statement that the Vulcans didn't have them. I'm assuming from Enterprise. I don't remember that line exactly, but yeah, they didn't seem to
No,
have them in Carbon Creek.
yeah, but my question is, who was it that said that Vulcans didn't have transporters?
Yeah, that I honestly
Because
don't remember that line myself, but
it was probably a Vulcan, and
Mhm.
we have known that, unfortunately, they do lie, no matter
Yeah,
how much they say they don't in some series
yeah.
or can't. Yeah.
Yeah, so Mistral and crew didn't. That's true as far as we know from 20 years earlier, but they could have invented it in the meantime. And we don't know that Solkar didn't. Solkar being the Vulcan that landed on
That
Earth in the
with the
in First
Toplanahoth.
Contact. Yeah,
Yeah.
they might have just not used them. They might have just landed. Who knows, right? So
Well, yeah, they
I
gotta
don't know.
make a show of it. It's like, "We're from outer space. You've never seen a
Yeah,
ship like this before."
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Um, Humans did invent transporters, but they also say Zephram Cochrane invented warp drive, and warp drive was around with other species before that, and other
Yeah,
species had
well,
transporters too. So I don't know if you can find me the line in Enterprise where they said Vulcans didn't have the transporters. I just don't remember it. I could be totally. I just don't remember the line myself. So
I would be willing to bet a Vulcan said it.
probably, and they never
They
lie.
Yes. Mhm.
Oh. Hmm. So yeah, anything more? Well, okay. I guess Guinan does figure into this story as well, so we should probably talk about her part in this. And again, I just love her as Guinan. Ito, I'm not going to attempt the last name because I still have yet to hear somebody actually say it. So
Same,
I
same.
want to quit messing it up because I'm sure I've messed it up. So she's incredible as Guinan. I
Mhm.
really like her. And Bruce said something in our podcast about that episode where um he said like she's just Guinan now. Like
Mhm.
it wasn't, it's not like, oh, this is the other version of Guinan. He's like, oh, that's Guinan.
Just kind of. Yep.
That's pretty cool. My one tiny regret, and it's not a comment on her performance or anything like that. I love that in this episode we get a reunion between Guinan and Q. Some part of me kind of wishes it was Whoopi Goldberg and John Delancey facing off there, even just briefly. But that's okay. Like I said, she's incredible as Guinan. So That was more just a, like, I don't know, just a fanboy desire to see those two on screen together again. But
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah. It is okay because at least we have Ito, because she embodies Guinan in a way that I didn't think possible,
Mm-hmm.
and I just really appreciate her performance even when they don't give her very much to do
Yeah.
sometimes. So,
Yeah.
but she just is. She is Guinan.
Mm-hmm. I love Matthew here. Q essentially says, "Oh, it's you."
Yes. So true.
I want to get the line right
Oh.
because, yeah, here it is. So Guinan says, "You must be Q. Took your damn time." And Q responds, "And you are that multi-celled sanctimonious droning shrew known as Guinan. Right, it's the 21st century. Our paths have yet to cross." I just the dripping with disdain that John Delancey can give any words, but especially those words. So
Mhm.
great. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's just more speaking in riddles. It's not the trap, it's the escape that matters. Like, what are you talking about? This is episode 8. Come on. Stop stop giving us riddles and give us something substantial.
Yeah, it does feel like there's a lot of, like, it's pretty late in the game to be still going like, what's happening? What's going on? But that's kind of where we're at a little bit. Um, I do want to say that my image of Q in the last episode being summoned and, like, having to get on the bus or take a taxi or something,
Yes.
that actually seems to have been borne out. Like, it seems like he's like, traipses in wearing an FBI costume, and he's like, finally made it. Rush hour, am I right? I love it. I
Right.
think that's great.
Trying to go anywhere on the 5, it's gonna take a couple hours if you're 20 minutes away. It's just how it is.
That was awesome. I was okay. Head canon, he was absolutely, like, stuck on the bus with the punk with the boombox and everything. I'm like, yes, that all happened.
Excellent. That I will accept that as headcanon.
I love it. Okay. So in this episode, we've also got Raffi and Seven chasing down Jerborgi. How are we calling her? I like your choice of name
Jaborgi.
there. Jerborgi.
Jaborgi.
I
Jaborgi.
like it. Yeah. And also, of course, some great Raffi Seven moments as well. And I really liked Seven's well, not liked, but appreciated Seven's reaction to Raffi's, saying, like, get in the mind of a Borg. What's she after? And she's like, I don't know, Raffi, I'm not a Borg anymore. And just that kind of hitting those buttons of Sevens, and, like, she's dealing with a lot here, and now that she doesn't have those connections now in this kind of new reality, and kind of resenting those connections that she had before. There's some really interesting stuff with Seven going on here.
Yeah, it's it's something that I think that fans of Seven have wanted to see since she appeared on Voyager, about what she would be like if she had been allowed to, grow up human,
Mm-hmm.
what she could have achieved, etc., had she not been assimilated at such a young age. So I think we're getting a little bit of that, which is something that they never really explored on screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this episode, of course, written by Cindy Appel and Kirsten Beyer. Kirsten Beyer has worked a lot with the character of Seven in the post Voyager novels, and
Yes.
uh, with Seven, spoiler alert for the novels, post losing her Borg implants, when the Borg were no more. And I won't say exactly how that happened if anybody still wants to read those novels, but
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Absolutely. And I feel like there's some parallels there with the story she was telling in some of those stories and with what's going
Mm,
on here, which is really interesting. And I love that she's been able to contribute to the canon character of Seven of Nine now with
yes.
some of those plot threads, some of those story elements and stuff. That was really cool.
Yes, I appreciate that greatly because, you know, I'm just I know a lot of people were just like, "I can't believe they're bringing Seven into Picard, et cetera," and we just didn't get to have enough time with her in season 1.
Mhm.
And she didn't get to do a lot in season 1, and she's at least had some more to do. I feel like there could have been a lot more that she could have been doing in this season instead of, spending a whole episode on a detainment that absolutely does not matter in the great scheme of things.
Yeah.
It's just, more 7 is better for me. I will take all that I can get, and I want every moment I can have.
Mhm.
So,
Well, yeah, we get a few of them in this
mm.
episode until they catch up with Girardi slash Borg Queen Gerborgi. Let's just go with that. That I can't think of anything better, so that's perfect. Um, I liked some of the details, just the little details that are added to canon here, where the use of lithium to stabilize metals to create
Mhm.
nanoprobes, and especially that the smell of that just triggered the memories in Seven. Like there's some great writing in this episode that I really appreciated. Like I said, the whole plot line, even though it's short and a digression, like I enjoyed the Wells plot line and stuff, really well written dialogue and stuff there. And similarly, just really well written dialogue with Seven and her memories and what it was like to be a Borg that I wouldn't say we never got in Voyager. We got some great stuff in Voyager, but I love the kind of more visceral kind of human aspect we got here, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
That's what I wanted more of in Voyager,
Hmm.
and they kinda started pushing that towards the end a bit, but then they went off on this whole Chakotay and Seven thing that
Ugh,
I was not into,
nope.
and it was just like, honestly, because it was one of the it's again, the reason that I missed so much of Voyager is because it was preempted a lot by sporting events, and so when I'm watching certain episodes and I'm like, "Okay, what the hell happened that these 2 are now a thing? This
Nothing.
is wrong on so many levels." Yes, I later found out nothing.
Nothing.
Just makes no sense. No sense.
Apparently, in retrospect, it turns out to have been like a bet between Robert Beltran and Brandon Braga. Apparently, like there's some weird story that like Chakotay is like, oh, I bet you wouldn't have the guts to like do something like this, and apparently he just called his bluff and did it. Which what? Anyway, I don't know how true that is. That's I've heard that. That seems
I
weird.
I pray that that's not true, because
Ugh.
if it is, that makes me even angrier and disgusted.
Yeah.
Just ew. Just mm. Because then
So say
Jerry
all.
Ryan, yeah, because then no, because then Jerry Ryan had to do all that stuff, pretending to be into Chakotay and whatever. And I'm saying it so wrong. Chakotay,
That's okay. Some people say
Chakotay.
Chakote.
Okay, Chakotay. Well, honestly, it changes, pronunciations depending on who's saying it on the show too.
Yeah,
Same
or
thing
which
with
season it
Balana.
is.
Yeah, same thing with Balana or Baylana, take your
Bailana.
pick. And so, it's just ew, ew.
Yeah,
I hope
yeah.
that's not
So
true.
I hope not too.
Ugh.
Um, but yeah, so the oh my god, I'm just reading comments and I don't want to talk about Chakotay 7 of 9 anymore. No.
No, let's not move on, because
Ooh,
we're on this for this girl. It's Chakotay and Janeway or nothing.
here, here. Yeah, absolutely. So Raffi and Seven do catch up with Jerborgi, and we get this fight scene, which Seven gets taken out pretty quickly, and same with Raffi, and we get the one line. I think honestly, actual Girardi has one line in this episode where you hear a voice yell "No" when she's about to kill Raffi, basically, and stops short and she runs off. So she's still in there. She's still fighting. So we
Well,
get
I never.
one Girardi line, I guess.
Yeah, not enough for me. Yeah, I've always thought, that she would still be in there and she would still be fighting. She's smart. She's a smart girl, smart woman, excuse me. And she is biding her time, is what she's doing. She
Yeah.
is waiting for her moment, kind of like the Borg Queen did with her. So,
Mm-hmm.
two can play at that game, and Agnes learns fast.
Absolutely. And we'll, of course, get into it in the next episode, but they actually made me retroactively okay with how Girardi's character went a little bit more so than I would have thought they would have. But we'll
Yeah,
get
I'm
there.
still not okay with it, but that's as maybe.
I get it. Okay, what else we got in this episode? Okay, so we've got Adam Sung and Kore, and what I'm assuming is Kore's final scene. I don't see her coming back. She could, I guess, but she gets the cure from Q. Um, I'm assuming a more permanent one than was given earlier. And she walks out of Adam Sung's life. And this, of course, pushes Adam Sung into whatever the heck it is that Q's trying to get him to do, which is scrub this mission for some reason. Again, yeah, I don't know. But boy, Brent Spiner.
Can be really horrible. I mean,
Yes.
act really horribly. I have met him. I had a lovely interaction with him. Enjoyed it very much. I know not everybody has had great interactions with celebrities, and celebrities are humans too.
Mm-hmm.
They have good days, bad days, don't feel good, just like everybody else. So, keep that in mind when having your celebrity interaction. But my interaction with him was great, and he is so good at being evil. He is just really good at portraying a horrible excuse for a human.
He really is. He was actually at Calgary Expo as well. I already have a signed photo of him, so I didn't get an autograph, but watched his spotlight panel, and he's always fun. I've seen him numerous times, and he's great. And somebody did ask, of course, he can't say anything, but somebody did ask about his role in season 3 and what that's all about. And he kind of twisted the question into a talk of what it was like to play the villain in season 2. So,
Smart.
yeah, he's like, well, obviously I can't really say anything about that, but he did talk about multiple members of the Sung family and Adam Sung in particular, and how it was fun to kind of chew that scenery and be the mustache twirly villain a bit. Uh, he's no stranger to that, of course, having played Lore, like probably the mustache twirlingest villain of all. But yeah, where Lore is kind of twisted, Adam Sung is just devoid of ethics at this point, basically.
And devoid of empathy.
Yes, absolutely. And I love, so we've got the Borg Queen goes to see Adam Sung at the end, and I loved her line where she says something along the lines of, "Are there any ethical impediments?" And he just like doesn't even answer that. Just says, "I can get you to mission control," and yada yada yada.
Hmm.
Oh man, yeah, what a guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's honestly at this point where I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so Q makes a change in the timeline that now creates this horrible future to show Picard, so he'll be somehow guilted into remembering whatever the hell happened with his mother or whatever. so that he can know himself. And this is how he does that? Why? Why?
I don't know.
Why? It just I just don't get it. I don't
Mhm.
get it. There are many other ways you can go about doing something like this, but to affect the entire universe, just
Mhm.
why? And then
Yeah.
and then he acts like he didn't expect them to go back in time. It's like, well, what did you think they were going to do? When you made a change in the past that gave them a horrible future, just live in that horrible future? Is that what you thought? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah, we'll see where it goes. I so okay, very end of this episode we get the Borg Queen, Gerborgi, um
Thank you.
seeming to like kind of quasi assimilate this paramilitary group that because money gets you anything in the 21st century. Ugh.
Yeah. And here's the thing. She does it to the first guy and the rest of them just stand there and watch and wait their turn. What?
Yeah, like how much are they getting paid? Like,
Not enough to just stand there and watch.
yeah, that
I
was
just
a little disturbing.
a little nonsensical too. It's just no.
Yeah, I
Didn't
don't
work
know.
for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Didn't work for me.
I enjoyed this episode more than the previous few. The overall story again, I think is like I'm just waiting to see how it kind of all wraps up. But at least the like before it was like I liked the broad strokes, but the small details were lacking. This week, the broad strokes, I don't know where they end, so they're kind of weird to me, but the small details I felt in this episode were much better. I really enjoyed that. The writing, the dialogue in this episode, I really enjoyed. Which brings us to Rios and Teresa, which I haven't mentioned yet. We forgot to mention that. So I really like the chemistry between these two, and I really enjoy. Oh my god, I had Sol Rodriguez as Teresa Ramirez. I really enjoy her performance. The one part of the episode that I was just like, oh, really, was when and they could have just taken the music out and made it better or something. But when she's walking away from Rios and they do that, just that so stereotypical Turner turns around and the music swells and she goes and kisses him. I'm just like,
And it's not even that good of a kiss. I've seen better
no.
kisses in Hallmark movies.
I would have
And
actually,
that's just a bunch of closed mouth, dry lip stuff going on up in there. Just know that I mean, that
yeah.
was not passionate enough for me.
So I would have appreciated it even more if because I liked everything that led up to that. I thought the Teresa saying, "Imagine we've known each other for 10 years," and blah blah blah. Like, I enjoyed all of that dialogue. I thought that was an interesting view on her character that we hadn't gotten before. I thought that was kind of cool. I don't think that weird music build up and thing was earned. I would have appreciated that scene a lot more if like, they're having that moment. They get interrupted by the kid and she just like turns and gives him a quick peck and then goes and deals with the kid. Like I feel like, and then you cut to that shot of Rios going like I feel like that would have been more appropriate if that makes sense, and it would have been as meaningful, if not more meaningful to me. I don't know. Again, I hate doing the like this is how I would have done it, but I don't know. I just feel like that was seemed unearned to me. The music
Yeah,
swelling, it was just a bit much.
it was a Hallmark movie moment for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely not earned. That's one of the things that I hate. I mean, to be fair, I watch a lot of Hallmark movies. I'm not ashamed to say it. I like watching something that I know is going to have a happy ending because sometimes the world is a horrible place and I just want to watch two people fall in love. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Okay. So, besides, you actually get to see a lot of people in there. that have been in Star Trek as well. Like there's literally one with Rebecca Romaine and Jerry O'Connell playing people who loved each other a long time ago, and then they split up, and now they're coming back into contact together, and she's been married to somebody else and divorced and has a daughter going off to school. Anyway, it was delightful, but it's that old typical thing of they're about to kiss and interruption. You know
Yeah.
what? Do you know what? Just go ahead and kiss. What's it gonna take? Couple seconds? That kid can wait couple seconds to go barf, okay?
Yeah. And
Just
that's kind of what I mean. Like, you get the interruption, like, okay, and then the turn and just a little peck on the cheek and then go. And I'm like,
no, I would have still gone for the full kiss. You
fair
know,
enough. I like
it's Santiago Cabrera, of course. But
oh,
but there's just that whole little thing with the whole, oh, don't even start with me. Oh.
he's adorable. He's
Oh,
adorable.
he really is. I adore him. He's a delightful person from what I have seen. But yeah, I'm so tired of that trope, and it has no place in Star Trek.
And okay, so and also, who are the adults that let that kid eat all 4 of those pieces of cake? Like, what were you thinking? Like, I don't
Of
care if
course.
you're on a spaceship from the future. No. You
She's a
recycle 3 of them.
doctor. She's a doctor for crying out loud. And she let him eat 4 pieces of cake.
Oh man. Hey, yeah, that's 2 seasons of cake barf in a row. That's weird.
I don't know what it is about the replicator cake. Are they trying to say something about replicator cake?
I don't know.
Did it just it makes people barf? I don't know. It's just
So do we want to do a wrap up of this episode and ratings, or do we want to just move on to the next one and do it all together at the end?
No, I think we should do it with per episode because they
Okay.
are each their own thing.
Okay.
So
So yeah, folks in the comments, feel free to throw up your ratings. Unlike Ricardo throwing up the cake, that's not the image that I was going for, but yeah, put your ratings in the comments. And Brandi, final thoughts and ratings for Mercy.
I felt like this episode was a huge waste of time, considering it was so late in the season. What did it add to much of anything? Nothing. And it was, I wanted more. I wanted something to make sense, something to be revealed, something to tell me that they knew what they were doing. And so, I'm just gonna, I don't even know how to rate this one this time. I guess 1 Ricardo barfing up cake. That's how I feel about this.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think overall, like, the plot lines are kind of going like this, and some of them are ending over here and some are going over here, and there's this middle one that I still kind of don't really know where it's going or how it all figures into it. But I feel like this episode was an improvement over the previous ones as far as the pieces of it are concerned. I felt that the writing was better. Again, maybe not overall for the season, but for the scenes that we get in this episode and for the situations that we see, for what they are, I'm enjoying the dialogue. There's no like huge leaps in logic for me, like how did they get to the clinic with the blah blah blah, how did the band know to play for Girardi and all that, like, there wasn't those things going on in this episode that pull me out of it. I was more into it this time. The abrupt ending of some of them that just like, oh, I guess that's done now, is still kind of annoying. But again, that feels to me like a Picard season 2 problem, not episode 8 problem, if that makes sense. So
That's fair. Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. I'd say probably 3.5 to 3.75.
We're getting into decimals now.
Yeah, there we go. I'm not a fraction only man. I like some decimals too.
You can be more precise with decimals.
Exactly. I think I'm not missing any more here. Oh, nope, I just got more updated here. But yeah, 3.75 out of 5. I don't want to say slices of cake, that's too obvious. Unnecessary music swellings, I guess. I don't know. There we go. Um,
Yes.
yeah. So
It seriously was so Hallmark, you guys. It was just ugh.
that was the one, like I said, I loved the writing of all of that, and I thought it was great. I thought those two had great chemistry, and then they just did not stick the landing with that part. I'm like, oh no. And it shouldn't leave a bad taste in your mouth. It should, I'm enjoying the
Yeah.
whole thing, and then nah.
Yeah.
uh yes. I totally thought this guy is Star Trek's Fox Mulder. That was great. I love that, except he just doesn't have the backing that Mulder had, so he just got let go. I loved it.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's move on to the more recent of the two episodes then, Hide and Seek, the penultimate episode of Star Trek Picard season 2. Um, and I'm just making sure I haven't missed anybody's ratings, right? Okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah, Hide and Seek, season 2, episode 9. And okay, let me cast my mind to that one now. Okay, so we've got several things going on here. They realize at the end of the last episode that the Borg Queen is going to be trying to take La Serena, and so we get a lot of kind of actiony moments in this episode of them trying to defend the ship from the Borg Queen and her um, quasi assimilated minions, I guess. It's kind of, let's actually start with that. Let's start with the soldiers then, because I feel like, and maybe this kind of feeds into what we learn about the Borg by the end of the episode, which is interesting. And I'm going to talk a lot about that. But they would have been more effective if they'd remained these, former special ops mercenary for hires with their own minds, I think, rather than these zombie quasi Borg things that just kind of stand and shoot wherever, which is why I think their behavior was so illogical, because they're just like mindless Borg drones, basically. Whereas, like, if they'd had actual tactics and were still these mercenaries that were just for hire, they would have been more effective, which might have been purposeful given what we learn about the Borg by the end of the episode, and some of the points that are made about the Borg. So
Mm.
I don't know. Any thoughts on that? Am I barking up the wrong tree there? Or?
I just, I think I just didn't like it, the whole thing, because I'm just like, okay, so suddenly, I mean, if she's assimilated them, that means they're now part of her hive, so to speak, right?
Mhm.
That means she knows what they know. So why are they suddenly worse soldiers?
Yeah. I don't know. It felt like it was like a quasi assimilation or something, because she's
Yeah, but
still
even
not fully.
so,
Yeah.
it just doesn't. It's one of those things with their where they're like, just don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. We're gonna throw so much action at you that you're not gonna be thinking about this until it's over. But I was
Yeah.
thinking about it during, and I'm like, why are they suddenly worse at their jobs? It seems to me like, what was the point in getting these, highly trained, efficient, effective, sort of super soldier people, and now they fight like stormtroopers? I mean,
Hmm.
just, can't hit a damn thing. I see somebody else talking about it, can't hit anything.
Yep.
Even with scopes. Yep. I agree, Thomas. What the H? What the H is up with that? So yeah, it just bothered me, the whole thing.
Hmm.
It's like, what, the only thing that I can reason myself out of this is that Girardi had something to do with that. That Girardi kept the Borg Queen from having as much control as she could have. That's the only thing I can think of, but we don't know because they don't make
Mhm.
any of that a priority information. So, yeah,
Yeah. I
it just doesn't work for me. Just doesn't work for me.
yeah. I've always felt that Star Trek doesn't do mindless action very well. I mean,
Mm-mm.
you can do mindless action well. Like, there are some action movies where the action is very mindless and it's enjoyable as heck.
Mhm.
Star Trek has never done it well, and I think this is another one in the pile of, like, eh, you know, I prefer things a little bit more explained in Star Trek, a little bit more thought out. It just seemed like, let's have a bunch of red shirts. There we go. A bunch of, mindless people that very conveniently activate their laser scopes on several occasions, giving away their position. And thankfully, because if they just waited a few seconds, they could have killed off two main characters like that.
Yeah, well, see,
So
that's the thing. That's not how night vision scopes work. And another thing, why is it always night in France?
I like
Every
that.
time we have been at Chateau Picard, it has been night.
Well,
Why?
until the end of this episode, because it's symbolic, Brandy. It's metaphorical. The sun is rising. A new dawn is coming.
Uh-huh, sure. But every other time they've been there, it's been night. I think the chances of that are very, very low that it's always going to be night when they're at Chateau Picard.
Hmm. But it makes for some cool green laser stuff. So.
Yeah, okay. So night vision scopes don't give away your position. That's why they're night vision.
Yeah,
They
but
don't
these
they don't show you where they are.
no, but the laser sights on the guns do. And for some reason, when
Why
they
would
got
you
bored,
use that? Why would you
when
use that?
because again, we don't want to kill our main characters immediately. They need to give away their position right away. So I
It's
don't know.
just not what would happen with a group of people in the night trying
Yeah,
to hunt down some other people. Just not efficient at all. Not
yeah.
what soldiers would do.
Again,
Sorry.
mindless action that Star Trek just is not good at. I'm sorry.
That's because you there's nothing mindless about Star Trek. That's why
Mhm.
it's Star Trek. And so you can't do mindless action, and when you do, you mess it up because you're not thinking logically about what this would really be like in real life. Okay, sorry, I'm done. I didn't yell this time. Aren't you proud?
Oh man. Um yeah, so I don't think there's too much we can say about more about the action in this because it's a good chunk of the episode.
Doesn't
And
work for me at all. Don't like it.
yeah, yeah, that part. Okay. Let's talk about something that I don't know how I feel about this at all, to be honest. Okay, so Girardi and the Borg Queen. We've got them wrestling for control, and there's some great scenes that I love. And actually, this isn't what I was two minds of about. We have to talk about this before we get there. So put a pin in that.
Fair.
Let's talk about the Borg Queen and Girardi. Um, I loved that we got to see Girardi kind of pulling the old switcheroo on what the Borg Queen was doing, and get to stand there and explain it to her while it's happening, and to see that smug look on Girardi's face and the like unsure, I'm on thin ice, I don't know what to do look on the Borg Queen's face, to see that kind of flip there. Mwah, I loved that. That was brilliant.
Yeah. It's like, oh, guess what? I can create endorphins too.
Why am I crying?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
You're not. I am.
That was terrific.
Yes.
Um, hey, Matthew's already guessed what I was of two minds about, but we'll get there. Um,
Yep.
mm.
Mm, mhm, mhm.
So I love there's so many great like rug pulled out from under the queen moments in this episode. And I think my favorite has to be because I didn't even think of this, but I think it's brilliant where she's like, "Oh, I've encrypted the computer with a fractal encryption code," which is what Data did with the Enterprise computer in First Contact. Nicely done.
Mhm.
Um, and then she's like, "Oh, I'll just pull it from your mind." And she's like, "You don't think I'm dumb enough to have memorized it, do you?" And the Borg Queen's like, "Oh." I love that. That was brilliant. I was like, "Oh, I I wouldn't have thought of not memorize like of course." That's so simple. I love that. That was great.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like, did you forget that Girardi is a genius? I think you
Mhm.
did. And that you're gonna pay for that, honey.
Yeah. So, but where she did put the code is in the new emergency combat hologram, whom she is patterned after Elnor, because, as she says, and as we've learned in previous whatever, the computer can make a hologram of everyone of anyone who's ever been aboard. Which actually, if you read the Rios novel, and I guess they do say it in Picard as well that it was like the self scan option or something with the hologram. I just realized I got like a piece of tape stuck to my
Oh my
headphones. Has that been there the whole time?
I
Nobody
don't
said anything.
know.
That's
I
awkward.
don't think we could tell, from the angle. We just couldn't tell. I didn't notice. And
I'm
believe
like,
me,
well,
I
that's
noticed
awkward.
things. So I had no
Yeah.
idea.
So yeah, we've got the emergency combat hologram, not the emergency command hologram, a different type of ECH. And it's Elnor. Brandi, what did you think of that?
I am also of two minds about it because I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" But at the same time, Elnor! I know it's
Right?
not my Elnor, but it's Elnor, and he gets to go around and be having his absolute candor even as a hologram. And I miss you, Elnor. You should have been in this entire season. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's kind of I'm so happy to see him. That was great.
But really, really,
Okay, so Raffi comes in and they have this moment, and Elnor says he knows what was on real Elnor's mind as he was dying, and it was not thoughts of blame, but thoughts of love or whatever. How? What?
how would he know that? How would he know that? How would
I,
he know that? Is the computer on La Serena scanning everybody's brain every second that they're on board? That's the only way the computer would know that.
yeah, I mean,
I
unless because he
just
was on
makes
the
no
bio
sense.
bed or something, like,
Yeah,
but
but it wasn't
why
working,
would it
was
read
it?
his mind? Yeah, I don't know.
S See, that's the
That
whole thing. There was no power down there when he was
yeah,
dying, which
that's
is why
right.
he died.
Huh.
So, yeah, big
Mm,
glaring plot hole.
I just it seemed very convenient, and again, I don't even know, like, I guess if the computer somehow, like you said, there's no power, but somehow it was, like, reading physiological signs and could interpret those to be, like, what's on his mind, I don't know.
Yeah,
It just
no. No. No, don't try to justify it. There is no justifying it. It was a big, big boo-boo. It was a
Yeah.
problem.
It's like one of those things that, like, I appreciate for Raffi that she gets that moment, and I appreciate seeing Elnor's face, I guess, telling her these words, but I don't I don't know how to get to that from like it again. I feel like a broken record. It felt unearned. Like
Mhm.
how why did she get to have this moment? I don't understand the mechanism that led to that.
Well, see, and that's the thing. They throw this thing in a previous episode about how Raffi likes to control everyone, blah blah blah. That was never something that was mentioned before and wasn't mentioned again at all.
Hmm.
I mean, they don't mention it again at all.
Yeah.
And she apologizes. She says, "I was afraid of being without you," etc. Um, Still not addressing the stuff that they set up earlier in the season. Just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like, what are you doing? Really, I want to know, what are you doing? Because I don't
Yeah.
understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Um, let's move on. Because again, like I said, I'm still of two minds of it. I still love that Raffi gets that moment. Again, I don't know how, but whatever. I love seeing Evan Evagora here. I love that he's going all Coat Milat on the Borg. It's great. Um,
I love the scene where he's opening all the weapons lockers and just getting, it's like a kid in a candy store.
little gun.
Just
Ooh, bigger gun.
sword.
Ooh,
Ooh,
sword.
sword. Just that, it just made me so keenly miss uh Eleanor even more, because I feel like this season is wasted potential where Eleanor is concerned.
Mhm.
Killing him off was, I feel, a mistake, and he should have been in the whole season.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen him
With
contending
his
with,
absolute candor
like, can
everywhere.
you imagine? And again, like I said, one of my least favorite things is saying, well, this is how I would have done it. But can you imagine that scene at the police station where they're talking with the cop and it was Elnor that was talking with the cop? Oh man.
I can imagine that, and I do imagine that.
Oh man. That would anyway. Alas, that was not to be. So no sense crying about what we didn't get, I guess. Oh, we got to see we got to see McCoy's fears realized when we see people materialize inside solid rock. Uh, oh dear, yikes!
Yeah, I kind of felt like that's what was going to happen, so it did not surprise me. And
Mhm.
that's pretty nasty. That is pretty
Yeah,
nasty.
I'm assuming. I hope it would be quick. At least, I mean, at this point, they're Borg, sort of. I don't know what they
Yeah,
felt anyway, but hopefully it's quick.
yeah. And then you have to think, how many of those people had families?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
now they'll never know what happened to them.
Yeah, this is another thing where I'm like, okay, we had a lot of talk earlier on about not, killing butterflies and making sure not to. There have been a lot of, like, this is so far beyond giving Dr. Nichols the formula for transparent aluminum. Like, we are so far beyond that at this point. I mean, there are scores of people dead who presumably weren't dead, or at least not killed that way in the previous timeline. I mean,
But how do you know? Because once you've gone back in time, you always go back in time.
this is the other side of it. The episode Assignment Earth, they discover in the databanks, oh, the Enterprise was just part of what was supposed to have happened. So was the La Serena and all of this just all what was supposed to have happened already? Maybe. I don't know. But then doesn't that justify being able to do whatever you want? And that's how
I
alternate
I
timelines get
know.
created. So I don't
I
know.
know. I know. I know. I know. I know. Just mm,
Yeah.
I can't say anything else because I know the end of the story.
I feel like, so there's there's several theories going on in the comments, and I agree with the two main ones, which is either predestination paradox, like we said, like they're just always supposed to be a part of what happened. That's what always happened. That's what led to the timeline in which the Federation flourishes. In order for that to happen, this all had to happen. Or as a couple people have pointed out here, based on all the butterflies, I've got to think there's a time reset in the finale or this timeline's going to be erased. I feel like it's one of those two, maybe something else that we haven't thought of, but those are the two leading contenders in my head. Brandi, I know you can't comment on that, so that's just my out loud
because
wondering.
I do know the answer, and I
Yeah.
cannot say it.
Okay. All right.
This is my neutral face.
It's very neutral. I have no feelings whatsoever one way or the other about your face in this instance.
And that is the point of the neutral face.
Absolutely. Complete neutrality.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Um, so, okay, what haven't we talked about here? We've got more Rios and Teresa. So Rios gets injured and is beamed back to with Teresa and Ricardo to Talon's hideout, and then is locked out. Basically, can't beam back because he's injured. Picard says he needs to stay there. He'll just get himself killed, kind of thing. Again, I really like the chemistry between Rios and Teresa. I really like those two together, and they have a kiss in this episode as well, which I liked a lot better than again, I wasn't looking at it closely. I don't know how the lips were doing, but the circumstances and the situation, it just felt so much more earned and natural and real. So I really liked that.
It still wasn't passionate enough for me. It's like, come on, get right in there, make it last more than 3 seconds. Come on.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know that I have a lot to say about them other than that I just really like them together. Yeah. And Rios, of course, trying desperately to get back, and Teresa desperately trying to stop him. And I don't know, there's some good stuff there. I like that.
Yep.
All right. Picard and Talon in the underground tunnels under Chateau Picard, and us seeing the inevitable conclusion to what happened to Picard in the past, and what happened with his mother. Again, I think you and I both pretty much predicted exactly how that was all going to turn out and exactly what happened. That said, the execution of it, there's some things that I have big problems with, which I'll talk about. But in particular, that one kind of final monologue that Picard gives about being able to turn back events and turn sorrow into joy, and then all of what was happening with his mother, and trigger warning, of course, for suicide and that sort of thing. Um, all of the things that are happening with her kind of going in reverse and being undone as she steps down and walks. I thought that was just a beautifully done sequence, if that makes sense. And of course, the Picard's monologue, I love that for sure.
Yeah, I was getting really tired of the flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So to finally have confirmation of what I knew pretty much from very early on, that he feels responsible for his mother's death. And the thing is that he talks about uh, what if he hadn't let her out of the room? That doesn't mean that she wouldn't have still ended up the way that she did.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he may have only postponed the inevitable. I'm not saying that it was completely inevitable, but if someone is living in that distorted of a reality, you unless they want help, and she wouldn't accept help, that's probably something that was always going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because the one thing that her family couldn't save her from was herself.
Yeah,
Only she could do that. So
yeah.
it's just I was really surprised that there was no warning before
Mm-hmm.
this episode.
I've seen a lot of sentiments regarding that. Thomas brings that up here as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, Thomas, thinking the same thing.
Simpatico in
Uh,
that. Yeah.
yeah, because the stuff that they showed, that they did put on the screen. Now I know that this is an adult series, obviously not for children, but that's hardly the point. There should have been a warning before the episode started.
Mhm. Yeah. And again, I've seen a lot of it because it was the way it was presented too. Again, I'm forever thankful and there, but for the grace of God go I, that I haven't that doesn't trigger me like it does a lot of other people. But I did even react with like, boom, it's there on screen suddenly,
Mm,
and like, oh wow, okay. Uh, so I definitely
yeah.
appreciate that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I know that it had, uh I mean, the entire season has had a mature rating pretty much.
Mhm,
Same thing with, first season, but give the real warning, give the real warning, because
mhm,
as I was very uncomfortable that they put on screen as much as they did, and not because, of past experience myself.
mhm.
Um, as I have said before, I do have bipolar disorder, and I believe that that is what his mother had as well, because of the really high highs and the really low lows. That's
Yeah,
bipolar
and
in
the
a nutshell.
very
There's
fast
no
switch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's no knowing when it's gonna switch, no warning. It can be one little thing and you just snap. It j it's difficult to explain to someone who hasn't experienced it, because you just your reality shifts in a second, and
yeah,
it's there have been times in my life where I'm like, I could just step in front of that bus and just end all of this and just be done with it, instead of dealing with this every day. But that was before I was on medication. So,
mhm,
medication lets me I still experience highs and lows like a normal person. They're just not extremes.
yeah,
They don't last forever. I can get out of bed in the morning and go about my day. I don't think about throwing myself off of a tall building. And so I can identify with her state of mind, because I have had that state of mind in my life.
mhm,
And I understand why she could think that this was the only way to have peace.
yeah,
So it's, but just showing it that the way they did was triggering to me.
mhm,
I found it very difficult to see.
absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, like I said, the fact that I kind of like was jarred by it, and I'm not dealing with a lot of those issues, and have not, I definitely appreciate how that would affect a lot of people out there. And yeah, it was definitely um could have used a warning for sure. The other thing that I want to bring up with this story, the so I talked about the how they did that scene at the end where it's kind of being undone. Like, I really appreciated the imagery of that, and the dial or the monologue, and all of that. The one thing that I kind of like was was kind of making me go, huh, and I couldn't even figure out why until I read Keith DeCandido's review of this episode on Tor.com. He does weekly
Mm,
reviews of episodes, and he was talking about how, we've got a woman who is dealing with mental illness, and she ends up kind of being locked away in her room, and Picard opens the door with a skeleton key, and all this stuff. And he like he was saying, and it kind of makes sense, it feels out of date today. Like, it feels
mhm.
like this is how people dealt with that sort of thing in the 19th century,
Right.
not even the 20th or 21st centuries, let alone the 24th century. And in some ways we know that, the Picards are kind of Luddites, but it was almost just too far that way, that like,
Yeah.
and I mean, I even said a couple episodes ago, I think Maurice Picard, there's an element of abuse there, not physical
Mhm.
abuse, but
Yeah.
what was done or not done for Yvette, even though she refused treatment. That's okay, fair enough. But that would still be, according to some, considered abuse by today's standards, what was done or not done for her in that situation. So I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily weighing in on that. I'm just saying, like, it felt very like, this is like, this is of a different era, even
Mhm.
before our era, and it just didn't really jive with the 24th century for me, if that makes sense.
Agreed. Agreed. Because there were, I mean, if he was a psychologist, he should have known better. There were certain things that he said and the way that he said them to Yvette that I'm just like, dude, you ought to know better than that. You're the
Mm,
one who has all of this knowledge, and you're talking about how she hasn't had an episode in some time. Oh, hell no. No. No, 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 no.
well,
That is not how you address the situation in hushed voices and basically saying you're doing so well while at the same time saying you're not doing so well and there's something wrong with you. But I
yeah.
mean, and there see, that's the difficult thing. Can you say that she was, she needed treatment? Because that's the thing about mental illnesses, is that it's like, why do I need to be fixed? Well, that's the thing. It's a choice, but at the same time, why wouldn't you want to fully live your life?
Mm,
Why wouldn't you want to experience things without feeling guilty? There's a lot
yeah.
of guilt associated with mental illness, a lot.
No.
So, I just don't know. I don't know how to answer that question, because I can see how some people would be like, "Well, why did she need to be fixed?" And I can see the other side of that as well, because I've been on both sides of those fence.
Yeah. Yeah, and tangentially, like, not to take away from the main point, because your main point is absolutely rock solid. He wasn't actually a psychologist, of course. That was just in Picard's vision. He's a winemaker, but to your point, like, absolutely, like, it was, yeah, I don't know. Like, again, I don't know. I don't want to say exactly. I don't want to fall on a side of this,
Yeah,
because
I don't either.
we've seen just a few moments out of these very, if they were in real life, very complex and multifaceted lives, right?
Yeah.
And this was one moment that kind of defined what happened. So who knows, right? But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I have too much more to say there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it alone. I just, it's yeah.
No. Okay, the Borg. So this was very Star Trek to me. And um I've seen a lot of people online. We're totally shifting gears, by the way, in this episode. So uh the Borg, we've got Girardi, kind of a battle of wills with the Borg queen. And I've seen a lot of people say, like, oh, the greatest threat the Federation has ever known was ended with a pretty speech. And I'm like, yeah, that's what Star Trek does. That's
Yeah.
what it's all about. I appreciated this. I thought this was really clever, and I really hope there's. I have some questions about what exactly physically is happening going forward from this point, being that they're in the 21st century and the Queen just yeeted the La Serena off with her, and I don't know what's exactly going to happen there, but with the history of the Borg and everything, and this fundamental change, which I think is what leads to what we see in the first episode, with the weird nebula and anomaly and the Borg queen on the bridge of Stargazer. I think this is really fascinating, and there's a lot of things that I think lead to this moment, because if you recall, the Borg Queen said she was impressed by Jurati. And I think if this were someone else, if this were just some other random person that she had taken over and used as a puppet, this wouldn't have resonated with the Borg Queen like it did and convinced her like it did. A,
Mm.
Jurati is the person who is smart enough to be able to turn the tables on her. And B, compelling enough in that moment that the Queen, who is impressed with Jurati, probably even more so now, kind of actually really truly considers what she's saying, which is the Borg can be a force for good, and that what you've been doing is subjugating millions, when instead you can free not millions, billions, trillions, whatever. And I thought that was brilliant. I really, really enjoy that, and I love that it's such a Star Trek thing that, like, yeah, like Kirk argues computers to death, and because of the sheer force of human will, and Picard gets implacable foes to stand down with an amazing speech, and Jurati truly convinces the Borg Queen to change the Borg. How can you not love that? I think that's terrific.
Well, she exploits the Borg Queen's weakness,
Absolutely.
which is exactly what the Borg Queen did to her. Well,
hmm
you bet your match, sweetie.
Yeah.
So yeah, the I'm gonna say what I have said that is my theory about the final episode. Um, Keep in mind that this was my theory before I saw the final episode. So what I'm about to say uh, doesn't necessarily mean this is what's going to happen. But from about 2 episodes ago, I said to Dave, I figured out who the Borg Queen is on La Serena, or not La Serena, on Stargazer from the first episode. It's
hmm
Jurati Queen.
Yeah.
Because
Which,
why else would her face be covered?
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that was a theory going way back to, episode
Yeah.
1, episode 2. And yeah, that's kind of where I've been putting my money as well.
Yeah, so that's my theory there. The rest of it, I'm just like, I don't understand where they're going with the Soong thing. I
Yeah.
don't understand what the point of the Kore thing really was, except just a convenient way to take everything away from Soong. I don't know how. I mean, she just walked away. Where is she going to live? Does she have a social security number? Can she get gainful employment? Does she have any skills? I mean, where is she? Where did she go? You can't just suddenly, after living under the thumb of this father in this one place for how many years of your life, you can't just walk out into the world and just suddenly be fine. That's not how this century works. So where is Corey? What is happening there? I don't understand. So yeah. And also I think that Rios is going to stay in the past, and because they
Yeah.
couldn't be building up all that stuff for nothing. And same question, how does he get a social security number? How does he get citizenship? Somebody explain that to me. So these are the things that I have theories on. The rest of it, I'm just like, how did they get back to the future? I don't freaking know. I
Um,
don't know. I have no idea where this is going in that
as far
regard.
as far as Rios goes, I feel like Talon could be a big help in that arena. I feel like she could, like, press a few buttons on her computer, and you know she'll create a something for Rios. Corey, I have no idea. Like she's gonna that world's gonna chew her up and spit her out. That's not good.
It's just I'm just so confused. I'm so confused about that. It's like,
Yeah.
does she technically exist? She wasn't born. So, how does that work?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
was she I don't know.
I like this comment. There are lots of lonely people who want to join a cult or collective. Oh no. Are we gonna see like door-to-door Borg recruiters, I guess, and like posters for the Borg? Join the Borg. Oh no.
Have you been looking for something more in your
Oh,
life? Do you want to find true connection? Join the
and
Borg.
true perfection.
True perfection. Well, I don't know that this is gonna be so much about perfection
That's true. They
anymore.
kind of call that out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm just
Interesting.
yeah.
Oh, somebody had. Oh, yeah. I wanted to bring this up, and thank you, Patrick, for mentioning it too. We've got a Janeway shout out, which I really appreciated. We find out that why Seven of Nine is not in Starfleet. She apparently did want to join Starfleet, but and
Bigotry.
yep, bigotry. Some people had a problem with this. I saw some people saying like, well, what about Icheb? He joined the Federation. I'm like, okay. First of all, Icheb was assimilated as a child and rescued from the Borg as a
As
child.
a child.
He was literally a not completed Borg drone that was pulled out of a maturation chamber early because the Borg ship they were on malfunctioned. So not that I'm defending Starfleet's choice here because I think it's
No.
absolutely wrong and wrong-headed, but I could totally see like 2 or 3 admirals saying, no, she's involved in the assimilation of thousands of people. We're not letting her in Starfleet. Which again is wrong-headed because that's not who she is, and she was obviously forced to do that.
Mhm.
But I can totally see the difference between those two. So I don't think that's a valid saying, well, Ichab was in and Seven of Nine wasn't. But
Yeah.
yeah. I love the idea that Janeway went to bat for Seven and was like willing to resign, but Seven of Nine was the one that said never mind and just walked away. I just love that Janeway got a shout out there. That was really cool.
Yeah. Oh, okay. One thing that bothers me about the whole Jaborgi. Not really necessarily Jaborgi specifically, but saving Seven's life, and she just happens to get the same implants in the same places. Really?
Yeah, that felt a little on the nose or on the eyebrow and under the ear, I
on,
guess. But
and on the left
on the
hand, and it's just like, mm, mm,
yeah,
mm, no.
it felt too artificial in the moment, if that makes sense. I don't know.
They missed a great opportunity to give her different implants.
Right? Yeah.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
there is an opportunity there, and you could write it off as, oh well, this is what she's familiar with. So Agnes was like, okay, well, let's give her the stuff that she's familiar with. But that doesn't work for me.
No. I do love in that scene the idea of using Seven as a template and what is it? Let's create a universe of sevens or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
okay. Melding the best of her humanity and the Borg. And I'm like, okay, I can get again, a very Star Trek thought. I like that.
Yes.
Adam Sung, should we talk about him briefly? Just in that, like, he's obviously enjoying the heck out of. We mentioned vamping earlier. He is totally dialed the vamp up to 11, and I kind of enjoy watching him do it a little bit in a weird way, just because I really like Brent Spiner. I think that's probably it. But I hate
Oh.
this character so much, but he's
And
fun to
he's
watch on
done his
screen.
job. Yes, Adam
Mm-hmm.
Sung is irredeemable, completely irredeemable.
Yeah, he's chewing scenery like there's no tomorrow, though, and I'm loving it.
It's
The
so fun to play the villain. It is so fun to
right?
play the villain. It's so fun.
And
You
this
get
was
to do
kind
all
of
the fun stuff.
absolute, and this was kind of Brent Spiner's point when he was talking at the panel too. He was like, "Yeah, it's fun. There's yeah, it's got to be for sure." Uh, the manner in which he gets away at the end, I'm like, this is a little one of those leaps in logic that I'm like, okay, what just happened? Um, First of all, in a scene that's rife with some of those leaps of logic, Rios is trying to get the transporter to send him back there, which he finally does, luckily facing exactly the right way with his weapon raised to to take out the I don't know. That was just like this is so action tropey weird. I'm glad, like, obviously, early on in the episode, he's going to beam back and rescue everybody at some point. Um, that was very strange that he was just exactly where he needed to be. I mean, I guess you scan the area and see where the life forms are, but I don't know.
I don't
I
know that
don't,
he really took the time to do that.
yeah, and I guess okay, now that I'm playing it out in my head, maybe scan the room for where the life forms are and realize these ones are Borg. Okay, so face that way and get ready to shoot. The timing was just so perfect though.
Yeah. Also, again, making the doctor use technology that she does not know how to use to get a bullet out of his arm. She
Yeah.
used a frickin' tricorder.
Yeah, this one I had less of a problem with. It was still jarring to me, but at the same time, like it looked like where they ended the scene, it looked like he was going to actually explain things a little bit more this time. And also, I feel like a tricorder is going to be a little bit more intuitive than a device with no graphics on it that you're just supposed to use to stabilize a person somehow. I don't know. I feel like the tricorder, when you see it on screen, there's like an outline of the body and a flashing red thing where the bullet is. It's like, okay, I see where the bullet is on this thing. Now what do I do? Okay, well now you just like zoom in on the thing, blah blah blah, and find out, and then okay. I was able to extrapolate it a little bit better in my head. That other scene in the other episode just made no sense whatsoever to me. This one I could at least kind of play it out and be like, okay, I can see how that would work. But
Yeah.
I don't know that the writers put as much thought into that as I did.
You know, I feel like I feel like this season has been everyone sitting around going, "Oh, you know what would be cool?" And then just putting that in the script, and unfortunately, when you put too much of that into a season, it just becomes like, "What are you doing? What are you
Mhm.
trying to say with
Yeah.
this season? What is the point of all of this?" That's what
Mhm.
I wanna know, because here we are at the end of episode 9, and I still don't have a freaking clue.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, like the overall, it's like there's this weird dichotomy between them because it feels like the main plot of the season is kind of stretched out over these episodes and it's pretty thin, but at
Mm,
the same time there's like 20 other plots crammed in there as well, and those are too fast and too many. So it's like those two ideas are kind of warring with each other a little bit. Like it's
yeah.
both too full and too slow. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's very
It's
strange.
it's full of unnecessary things, is what it's
Mhm.
full of. It's full of unnecessary things.
Yeah.
So, I know I sound really negative about it, and I apologize. I want to love this season, and I just haven't been able to. I
Yeah.
really I wanted to.
Like overall, I'm enjoying so much about this season. Like I'm enjoying a lot about it, but overall it's just yeah, there's so much that I still have questions about after 9 episodes that I'm really hoping they pull this out in the finale because I'm not sure. And again, I still have plans to binge watch the entire 10 episodes again just to see what that experience is like.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything in this episode we haven't talked about yet that we should? I feel like we've covered pretty much everything. I like Talon in this episode. She's just kind of there as a guide for Picard, but
Mm.
she's great at it. I love Orla Brady. Like I'm over the moon crushing on Orla Brady. I don't care who knows it.
Yeah. I have a girl crush on her. I want to see her and everything.
Yes.
I shout out to all the women over 50 in this series getting it done.
As proof for the people, also, yes, absolutely agree with that point. Totally. But also as proof to the people who are now yelling in the comments, DJ, the NX refit, talk about the NX refit. NX refit is canon now. I plan to talk about it. I totally forgot. It's sitting here on the desk in front of me. The same model. Yes. The Eagle Moss refit NX01 was briefly in this episode. I didn't see it. I had to see the post about it. That someone else originally took pictures, but shared by Doug Drexler, designer, of course, of the NX01 and the refit. So, yeah, that's now canon. That's pretty darn cool. I love it. Not much to say about that other than yay.
Yay.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch it again and find it because that's pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else? Final thoughts, ratings? Folks in the chat, please chime in with your ratings.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything more to say. The end of this episode was just me going, huh? What? What? That was basically me. So I will give this one giant what for my rating.
Fair enough. Joaquin, your rating here, by the way, this is something that Bruce and I talked about in the podcast when we were talking about the butterflies, the things they're doing in the past. Does this all get reset, or did this really happen, or are there like 40 Borg in the walls of Chateau Picard? Like, no kidding, are those all there in the future? And that's terrifying. Yeah. So similar rating here from DJ. Yep.
Stone Borg. Nice.
Yeah. I'm still enjoying Picard season 2 on various levels. The overall story again still is just got me going, like, I don't know where they're going with this. Again, maybe I'm being naive. I really hope it all wraps up in the finale and makes me go, oh, okay, now I get it all, I guess. Um but this episode in particular, the mindless action was annoying, but at the same time, it's kind of something that I can just kind of roll my eyes through and get through, because what I'm enjoying are the character moments as usual. I love Rios and Teresa together. Even the Picard stuff with all the problems with it, I still enjoy a good Picard monologue that makes me feel feelings, even though some of those feelings were a little unwelcome based on what we got in the episode. Seeing Elnor, yeah, badass Romulan holograms, I like that. That was cool. The way they did it, again, kind of weird.
Yeah.
There's the tagline for the season. I kind of like what they did. It's kind of cool, but the way they did it is weird.
Yeah.
There we go. That's my feelings of the season.
Oh, I realized I had one other thought. The whole
Mhm.
thing where Soong is got all his little soldiers and they're hiding in the amongst the crates outside or whatever. Yeah, those scenes with Talon and the whole thing with Soong saying, "Oh yeah, well, if you don't give up, we're gonna kill you." And I'm just like, why doesn't she just shoot him? Isn't
Yeah.
he the biggest threat to the launch of the Europa mission? Isn't her job to protect Renee at all costs? Why didn't she just shoot him?
Yeah. There's one line that I feel like they thought explains that, which is he says, if he literally says, "If you shoot me, you'll get it back 10 times worse." And I'm like, "What have you been
So,
doing up until now then?" Like
yeah.
they've all been shooting. Like, why aren't you giving it back 10 times worse already then? Like, what are you
Mhm.
trying to do here?
Yeah.
So that
Problem,
was a little,
problem.
yeah. um yeah, like I said, I enjoyed this episode. The one thing that redeemed a lot of what I didn't like was the Borg thing at the end, mostly because I'm like, I'm really curious to see where they go with this, other than what we all have already seen based on what happened in episode 1. So I'm curious, is there truly a fundamental change to the Borg? I think that's kind of cool. I like some of the Seven and Rafi stuff as well. And Agnes, I think, really made this episode for me. I loved seeing her get the drop on the Borg Queen. So, I'm
Yeah.
gonna give it one. Um, how do I put it? How am I gonna put this? One one La Serena stolen by the Borg, but that signals hope somehow. Which I never thought that would be where we are, but that's where we are. So, okay.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, yeah, thank you all for joining us a half hour later than usual for an extra long double-sized episode here.
And it's
Uh,
gonna be extra long next week too.
it's going to be extra long next week as well. It should be at the regular time next week though. Um, oh, did I see an 8 out of 10 here. Okay. Perfect. I don't want to make sure I don't miss any ratings. So yeah, next week we've got the season finale of season 2 of Picard and the first episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So we'll start next week by wrapping up this storyline that we've been talking about and then
Mhm.
launch into Strange New Worlds. And I'm really excited for it. The trailers we've seen have been terrific. I'm assuming the 5 episodes that you've seen, Brandi, have been also terrific based on the giddiness that is apparent on your face.
I can neither confirm nor deny whether I liked the 5 episodes.
Well, your voice cracked there, so
Shut up.
I'm very excited. I'm sure we are all too. It's always such a thrill to get to talk about a new Star Trek series, a thrill that we have had. This will be the 5th time in the last
Yeah.
few years, which blows my freaking mind. We had 5 we had 5 live action series by the time Star Trek Enterprise was done, and now so many more on top of that, and then plus all the wonderful animated series, old and new as well. So I don't want to give those short shrift as well. So much to talk about. So excited. Brandi, where can you be found online to talk about all this wonderful, wonderful, cool stuff? But you won't until you're allowed.
I won't until I'm allowed. You can find me sitting in this room staring at my Spock wall, but other than that, you can find me on Twitter at brandywine12. That's some I I'm not on social media a lot right now because it's a cesspool,
It
but,
is.
when I do have time, I pop in and out, so but when new episodes of anything I do go live, of course, I'll post about those things, so that's how you can know what I'm doing and when I'm doing it. And yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Kertrats. That's Kertrats. And you can find me on the Positively Trek podcast with Bruce Gibson. New episodes come out every Tuesday and fortnightly on Fridays for our book club episodes. I just love that word fortnightly almost as much as I love the word penultimate. So, yeah. Really excited. Thank you, Thomas. Yes, do that. I never ask people to do that, but do that. That's awesome. Yeah, thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you next week. And until then, as always, live long and prosper. And gonna be a big one next week, folks. Can't wait.